This is the Vivo Pill. Firestone. Good. It's just like I love the glass, yeah. It's just like a light water. Yeah. I was wondering if it's Russian because Russian.
Good. Yeah. Nothing.
Same.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to go see 12th Night with Midsummer Flight tonight at the Lincoln Park Conservatory.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going alone, so maybe not.
I'm not a musical person.
You know, I saw Hamilton. Because I think it's important to have your finger on the pulse of all culture and be able to reference
We're
it.
sitting down full of people from that, right? So we're gonna hold for like 5 minutes. So people are being here.
But when I saw it on Disney Plus, I was like, oh, you know what? I actually think I was disappointed with the cast.
Oh,
Because
sure.
Disney Plus is great.
Hi again.
Hello. I thought,
The OG.
yeah, the OG cast. I thought the guy who played,
Shane Brady.
even now, yeah, Frank Brady. I'm really hungover, so I need to actually get out of
I'm sorry.
It's Thomas suggesting, yeah, I think.
Do you want
Hi,
You're so
Jay.
beautiful. You're fine. Are you told me?
Yeah.
So nice to meet you.
Okay,
I talked
I'm really looking
about
forward to
you,
this.
so
Thank you so much. Sorry if I just got you.
No worries.
It's so good to see you too. You're very cool. Thank you. I'm a speechwriter. Gotta get
yes.
also it's like, oh, birthday celebration.
Yes, yeah.
Multiple.
Happy birthday.
My mom's birthday's tomorrow.
We'll go set it
Yeah, I had no idea.
Anything about Sagittarius. I don't know anything about Sagittarius.
They're pretty much the best.
Yeah.
Next to the right.
Very fire.
I know a lot about Pisces, not because I dated Pisces. That is part of it. But I think there's something about being a Pisces that makes it Pisces.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it. I think that should be the worst at the top, right, where you are, just how people.
When you're a Leo.
I'm a Leo. I don't tell anyone I'm a Leo.
I don't know any Leos.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chloe's a very quiet, unassuming.
Okay. You can like be loud and not scream I'm a Leo. Like that's not like the thing. Right? Like it's not quiet. It's not telling people you're a Leo. I just never reference it.
Anyway, excited.
Yes, no, me too. Thank you. Do you know each other?
No,
Actually, this is Toby. This is Iris, and this is
Nice to meet you.
Cecilia.
Hello, Iris and Andrew.
Yes.
Yes, hello, Ashley Toby.
Nice to meet you. This one says some chairs.
Do you want to just scoot here, and I can? Who's manning this?
Tommy, I don't know if he's still sitting here.
Okay.
But I'm just as long as I'm comfortable, it'll be fine.
You and Ashley to Brian.
So much wine last night. I got water.
If he wants to carry it out, please.
Yeah, that's good that you, yeah.
That was
I'm
me
not,
yesterday.
you know, I had a February over today.
I turned 31 this summer.
Oh.
And I think it's
Yeah.
Okay.
I turned 31 on Wednesday.
Oh, well, dread it.
Birthday.
Yeah, I know.
Everything
It's a good turn. Yeah, after this, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Until you hit 40 and then you're that's excellent. So that's it.
Yeah.
Between us.
Yeah, 9 years of no, yeah, that's nice. It's like, this is gonna sound maybe immature, but it was just this year that I started going, I don't wanna drink because I don't wanna feel bad tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like it was just, that was just this year. So by 40, I think I'm just gonna No.
Or just like know that you're like out of commission for like 2 days, like afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the pandemic was or the lockdown was sort of hard because I didn't really care about my job. And so it was like, what's tomorrow? You know, I don't care.
Fuck, it's 2.5 years.
Yeah, I'm fucking hungry shit.
No one will know. How will they know?
How would they know?
Yeah.
Yes, exactly what I was
No, it's good.
Did I steal your spot a little bit?
A little. If you don't
Let me
mind
know.
scooching in.
Oh, yeah,
Awesome,
yeah.
yes. So sorry, thank you. I'm going to warn you, I might be coming in and out of here.
If you want to hang on the other side, Benjamin.
Oh, I was just saying I might be coming in.
That's what I told her, and she didn't listen to me. Oh, Iris, your mouth.
Yeah. How much is it?
It's usually written, yeah. When we used to do it, they would have a bar off of their initials too. And that was like,
What did you do then?
1 year.
Are you guys on that?
Kind of.
Yeah, but then through Kate and then through Ben. It's the Cascade event.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
He's a stand-up comedian and he's producing a show tonight. Obviously, we were.
You should come.
I probably won't, but I think you can try.
Well, I'm here.
Tomorrow's
Oh,
the day.
really?
I'm here.
So, yeah.
We'll bring her to Red Line Beyond for the
She's gonna
improv,
love it.
for the Craig T. Nelson.
It's a birthday weekend. It's our day.
I guess it is a good.
Sundays like our sanctuary day. It's just kind of you know, the day where we close off the world and think out just the two of us. So we really connect pretty hard. It's actually really nice.
Are you guys doing anything?
Alright.
Okay,
Alright, so sorry.
So back off.
So bad.
We'll wait.
I'm doing a great show, but
What are you doing for?
it was yesterday, so we kind of started looking at social system weekend. A lot of the
I
show.
heard the Craig T. Nelson, and I was like,
Craig T. Nelson, you coming?
yeah.
Alright.
That's tomorrow, right?
That's, it might be a good time to bring this up. Everybody, tomorrow at VR is the Craig T. Nelson at 7 p.m. It's an improv comedy show. I would really appreciate everyone coming with.
It's a good club.
So
I was
you guys-
hoping you were like, no, thanks for being
Yeah, no. Sunday's our sanctuary day. We really protect it, so back off.
in unison.
Yeah.
It's so good. That's great. What else do you stand up and
I do a couple open mics. I'm taking classes and all that, so I do an open mic at Pressures in Rogers Park, which is my favorite because I can walk there. It's also a billiards hall.
Yeah, I used to host that mic for like,
Oh shit!
yeah, like 10 years ago.
Oh, did you come to Craig Nelson? Yeah, geez. Just say that I'll try to make it and don't come.
No, sorry. Done enough seeing it. It's good though, good luck.
Thank you. And then I do Pressures, and then there's one at Red Line where I'm doing the show tomorrow. Just
Red line.
Red Line.
But
Red Line.
yeah, like, it's pressure too, actually. I used to host pressure. Chance the Rapper came in one time before it was famous, and Ample used to go there.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Pressure's been around forever. It's a great place though.
I've done Coles a couple times. That's too much work.
Coles is
It's a great mic, but it's
like House of Cards. It's a very political.
a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And I have no clout in the community, so it's just
No one does.
it's just me bouncing around, drinking beer.
So what's the show tomorrow? Who's performing?
It's an improv show. It's so Julie and Erica and Lisa Burton, we're two comedians in the city. Julie hosts the Pressure now. It's an improv coaching competition, so there's going to be two teams performing, and then we're going to be coached live by the audience. I did it at Second City in February 2020.
Yeah, no offense to the show or anything.
No. I appreciate the honesty. I appreciate the honesty. Now I can say,
Yeah, no, I'd rather.
Can you listen to are you familiar with House? I'm so wrong. Jack House. He's a comedian in LA and other things that he was watching. Yeah, he just takes his best to not have anything. And I don't want to tell you it's bad or lie to you, so it's not going to.
Yeah, no, that's always been my opinion. I was just like, would rather do it and watch it.
I agree, and I also agree with it because I mean, you never over my friend.
Yeah.
I have a point now where you can have a bars. I was just using it because
Ladies thing, yeah. I love it. It's great. All your lines by heart, by the way. So you need
It's
lines.
not fun. It's not as fun as I used to do it.
Yeah, I got you. I'm basically on their side today.
I did.
You're gonna be amazing. Oh, this is your speech. This is your book. This is your speech. Gotta be enough. Definitely. You actually are missing a note.
I'm kind of following energy. Stand up on a little bit more.
There's a flower. Yeah, need the keynote with breath. It's the one thing in here I don't see that you're gonna be saying out loud. Yeah. Very good. Well, you know.
The owner.
Not what? You're gonna practice. I can't wait. He's blind, right?
It's just easier if it's that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I don't have that.
I don't make any money on it. Yeah.
Well, it's, I don't know why.
Thank you.
I don't know why she wanted me to do it on Sunday. Other than, I always do it proactively.
Yeah, and it's not. No, I'm saying that's like a bar where they come to Sunday or
Oh, yeah, sure. Anytime you want.
Because we need it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I've been busy with him. I mean, TikToks.
How'd that go?
It's good. It's actually good. And I have I do like acting and stuff like that. So I don't want to do so I just kind of stuff. But yeah, read through it. And you know, Rob.
I don't know. We got that man. Or I seen him.
Yeah, he was at his treasure. Yeah. Back in the day.
That's cool.
It's a good line. I might start doing CCTA.
Yeah, coming back. I love your life. Main love it. I really like the parts.
So we did.
Oh, you do CCTA.
I can like walk like this. Every other night.
I can ask him.
I want to start going only in Mondays. It's a big step.
I have a sketch. I have a sketch.
Headshot is amazing. It's
We
amazing.
me and the guy who started it.
Let's do that.
Because we both work at the same company and it was really busy, but we did lots of shit.
Solidarity.
So yeah, I took my improv classes.
The face.
Is that really good?
Also, like, your bio, it's like a paragraph with something.
So it's hard to kind of pick back up everyone.
It's amazing.
It's like, it's a weird format where they give you 8 minutes to do anything. They pull your thing out of
Who
that.
was that?
My friend Georgia and her boyfriend Tucker.
Tucker Berkshire?
No, I know Tucker Berkshire. I know there's a different.
Tucker, what?
Maybe it's earlier.
Yeah, Tucker.
Yeah, so that's what
Those are good ones.
and then
Do they draw for them?
they draw for that. So that's kind of the- and then I do pressures and then red line I wrote a lot. Maybe annoying because the paper on Friday, they also draw for that. And that one's also.
It's all political, my friend.
They'll put their cup on the scale for that one. And I think on Monday does it draw if you're lucky enough to get that?
Hers doesn't want to do anything. Unless you go there for like 15 times. Go. I'll go.
Okay, we're gonna get started. We might have a couple late entrances. Thank you all so much for being here today. My name is Sarah Dietenbach. I'm one of the main people who have been working on this along with Olivia and Tommy back there in the back.
Hello.
At our tech board.
Oh my gosh, it was already. Stop it. Stop it.
We started this project with the idea that it should be fun, educational, and manageable for all of us, and I think that we have done a really good job of doing that. So thank you all for being here to see what we have created over the past couple of months with everything coming together just right at the very last second. Also want to thank Poppy for letting us use their space, as well as Plant Chicago. We're going to have them speaking at the end. Executive Director Jonathan is here. And everyone who's helped us promote this, Echo and the Flamingo, and our performers, and us as our own marketing team. So thanks again. Feel free to hang out a little bit afterwards, get food and drinks. Please keep your mask on unless you are eating or drinking. We will be performing without our masks on, but we will, as you see, have them on unless we're performing. So I should probably take mine off the next time I do this.
And we'll be at least 6 feet away from you at all times.
Yes, also that. Thank you, Olivia. So we're gonna go ahead and get started with our first performance. We are live streaming this, so that will be available after the fact. Please make sure your cell phones are silenced. We know you have your programs on there, so just make sure they're silenced. It's okay to be on it and check that out. And then at the end of this, there will be an opportunity to tip actors via Venmo, and then make sure that you donate it to Plant Chicago. We also have a donation bucket up here as well for cash. So our first part of the program, our first short play is Apology My by Keith Barker, performed by Tommy Leppert and Kate Smith.
Fun work today.
I'm sorry.
You
I
can't
truly-
say that.
Why not?
You're making it personal. Don't do that.
I mean, it's an apology, so.
You need to think bigger picture here.
Fine. On behalf of the country,
The
today I.
country, the people, whatever you want to call them, are not the ones who are sorry that the government is.
On behalf of the party, today I stand.
It's not one party's fault. It's every party's fault.
Mr. Speaker, I stand before you today to offer an official apology.
There you go.
The denial of climate change is a sad and regrettable chapter in our history.
I like the chapters. That was a sad chapter. This This is a new chapter.
In the last 150 years, populations were introduced to widespread electrification, internal combustion engines, the car, and the airplane.
Sweet, keep it in the past, stay away from the future.
This massive shift to fossil fuels exponentially increased material possessions and measures of well-being. But we were wrong.
We are never wrong.
It was a mistake.
Mistakes are just as bad as being wrong. Neither will get you votes.
It was regrettable.
It's better.
Unprecedented warming. We are past the tipping point of climate change. Now we must deal with the full consequences of government inaction.
It's way too negative.
Now we must deal with the consequences of government failure and a multi-generational culture of denial to maintain the status quo.
Cut the last part,
I think we need it.
and I think we don't. Keep going.
Unprecedented warming cycles have melted the ice caps, leading to mass extinction of species. The acidification of the oceans has destroyed marine and mammal food chains. The unprecedented warming cycles have continued to increase as sea levels continue to rise.
You can't say all that.
Okay, people already know this.
Yeah, then why do we need to say it again?
Because it's true.
Truth is overrated.
Then why am I even getting this speech?
Because politically, it is a smart move if we do it right. It also makes you look like a prime minister.
I am the prime minister.
Yeah, well, you know what I mean.
I don't think I do.
Listen, don't focus on the small stuff. You need to ignore your instincts. Whatever feels right is wrong. You won't win this if you repeat past mistakes.
You really think you can fix this?
What do you think?
You always answer a question with a question.
Only the dumb ones.
Right. Where were we?
Somewhere between mass extinction and extreme weather conditions.
Today we recognize the denial of climate change was wrong.
Not wrong, but
Regrettable.
you.
Okay. Look, I've said regrettable 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 other times in this speech.
Yeah, I know you're gonna say it like a million more times, so get used to it.
The fossil fuel industry actively misled the public and is largely to blame for the inaction of climate change, with capitalism being the driving force.
Don't use the C word.
Just over 100 companies are responsible for 71% of the global greenhouse gas emissions worldwide.
That is debatable.
Not if we're using science, it's not.
Wow, it was this guy a few years ago.
I am trying to make up for my past mistakes.
And that, my friend, is how you kill your political career.
I need to say this.
No, you don't. You're talking to the base, card-carrying members. They voted for you because of your ideology. You can't just bait and switch these folks. Do that and you can kiss the election goodbye.
This isn't about politics anymore.
Everything is about politics.
Sorry, but I need to do this.
Let me do my job. I am a fixer. It is what I am paid to do, fix things. And if you want this fixed, Mr. Prime Minister, then you need to start listening to me pronto. You think you have found some clarity, but you haven't. And when these feelings pass, and they will pass, trust me, you'll regret having made a decision in a moment of weakness. Do not apologize. Do you understand me?
Perfectly. Yeah. I think you need to go.
You're making a mistake.
Maybe, maybe not.
Let me help you.
No, I think you've helped enough. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got a speech to write.
Last chance. Fine. Really? You know what? Wasn't gonna vote for you anyway.
Oh, you broke your own rule.
And what was that?
Don't make it personal.
Perform news/assignment protest song, and this is where you will have the opportunity to sing along with us if you would like. Don't worry, it's fine.
Mr. Oval Office, have you heard the news? Sea levels are rising, yes, the facts are really true. Grab our smartest scientists, take off those golfing shoes. Time is ticking, the smog is thickening, and we've got work to do. What did you think would happen if you swept it under the rug? How could you let this happen with a guilty smile and a shrug? If you think we'll keep letting this happen, you've got another thing coming. Oh, Mr. and Mrs. Boomer, may I ask you why the alarm bells were sounding? Turn a blind eye. Thanks for the overfishing and dirty over minds. Your legacy is clear countries and a plastic jewel sea. What did you think would happen if you swept it under the rug? How could you let this happen with a guilty smile and a shrug? If you think we'll keep letting this happen, you've got another thing coming. Oh, people of our Congress, did you get the latest facts? Stronger hurricanes are coming. Droughts and floods will last. Forget your petty squabbles and shoddy party lines. It's not blue or red, strategize instead. It's time to swallow your pride. 'Cause what did you think would happen if you swept it under the rug? How could you let this happen? Guilty smile and shrug. You think we'll keep letting this happen? Got another thing coming.
This is the one we're going to share. And then the lyrics are in your program. We're going to try it a couple times together.
Citizens start rising before it's too late. We live in a democracy, so vote for goodness sake. The future is in our hands now to choose the world we'll make for our sisters and brothers and all of the others. Oh, what's it gonna take? Citizens start rising before it's too late. We live in a democracy, so vote for goodness sake. The future's in our hands now to choose the world we'll make for our sisters and brothers
And all of the others,
so what's it gonna take?
Again.
citizens start rising before it's too late.
live in a democracy. So vote for goodness sake. The future is in our hands now to choose the world we'll make. For our sisters and brothers and all of the others, what's it gonna take?
Last time, so we know that.
Rising before it's too late. Democracy, for goodness sake. The future is in our hands now to choose the world we make. For our sisters and brothers and all of the others, what's it gonna take? What do we think? We swept it under the rug. How could we let this happen? With the guilty smile and shrug. Keep letting this happen. Can't keep letting this happen. Please don't keep letting this happen. So please do.
Olivia, that was beautiful. Thank you all for singing with us. That was wonderful. So next we have Ranger by Yvette Nolan, performed by Catherine Healy, Matt Johnson, and Sophie Fernando Kaufman. And a note about this play, Yvette Nolan is a First Nations playwright, and there are some lines in this play that make it appear better suited for Indigenous people to perform. We would just like to note that we are not Indigenous people, and that we should listen to Indigenous people about protecting the climate and water protection and climate change and the land back. So we just want to note that we know we aren't Indigenous, and we are aware. So without further ado, Ranger.
Please, Brooke,
Please yourself, Niall.
please come with me.
I can't. I am needed here.
I need you.
Then stay.
And do what?
Do what the rest of us are doing.
Park ranger?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what it is, right? A glorified, not even glorified, just a park ranger. Less than a park ranger, a gardener.
No, not a gardener. If they only wanted gardeners, I'd be shit out of luck. You know I'm all black thumbs.
You're going to get bored.
I don't think so.
Sitting in a park.
You are so
So what?
condescending.
Brooke, you are a city creature. You love cities. New York, Vancouver, Florence. How are you going to survive in a Luddite society?
Just because we don't use fossil fuels doesn't mean we're a Luddite society.
No vehicles?
We have cars and wagons.
You're afraid of horses.
Niall, I'm saying you are going. They're going to close the border soon. Is this really how you want to say goodbye?
What about your mother? She's not getting any younger.
I'm doing this for my mother. I'm doing this for all my relations, so people can breathe again.
Why do they have to close it permanently? Oh, why can't you visit? Why can't we come?
You know why? We need to give the land a chance to grow. We need to give the lungs a chance to breathe and work. We can't have traffic moving through. Everyone who's staying is committed to caring for the park for 4 years. In 4 years, if this works, then maybe we will open it up to the public. And people can come and visit and hike and ride in the park and see what we've created.
An overgrown bush.
By then the animals will be back. By then the water will be clean.
You hope.
I do hope. It is the only reason I signed on to be a glorified park ranger. No, not the only reason. This is my land. This is where I grew up. I could have moved east with the rest of you, but I'll never see this land again.
You are risking your life. You don't know how this experiment will turn out. No power. No.
Clean power.
And what happens when someone gets sick? Huh? Gets injured? Gets attacked by the bear or suddenly doesn't have to contend with traffic or hunters?
We have doctors, Kyle. We have biologists. We have all the skills we need.
You weren't exactly trained for this.
My skills are transferable. I was getting bored with money and paper anyway. I'm an organizer. What bigger challenge than to organize 1 million people in 5 million square kilometers of land? It's a monumental task.
It's a fool's errand.
And that is why you are going, Niall, to the choking, crowded city, and I am staying to be part of creating a global park.
Bro,
You gotta go,
please.
Niall. They're plowing the roads and after you go. You gotta go now.
Sir,
I will escort you to your vehicle now.
I'm going. I just.
Next, we have Olivia performing another original work, Eden Song, and then going from that, we will be going into our final play, All of Us Were Born in the Crisis, by, I did not copy that in, David Finnegan. Woo. I don't know if you could tell, I wrote the last one before an election. But I wrote this one last summer. There was a lot going on, and there was a lot going on, and I was having a lot of feelings, and I wanted both to like write a song that like acknowledged the feelings that I was having, but also like didn't allow myself to like spiral too far down in any direction. So this is kind of what happened, and I think this is, for me, this is like a hope song for like a lot of different things, but it does apply to the climate, and it's very naturey. So I would share. Street lamp flickers, stars winking up. Everything is turned upside down. Watch the weather, taste the bitter sweetness turning on the ear. Wait for the first firefly. Break the dark. Can you hear the sound of darkness falling? Bare feet, numb and senseless on the ground. Can you walk toward dawn that might never come?
seas, slipping through frost. Can you hear the new day as it's breaking? Our blind eyes blinking in the rain. Can you catch the faintest hope as it's fading away? Hold on, hold on. Hands feel helpless. Your days seem sad and flat. Your mind is filled with pettiness and pride. Lay down your burden. Lay bare your hurts again. So some peace will add up time. So grow like a tender seedling, reaching towards the sun. Can you stand tall while the world is tilting? Our songs turn to ashes on the tongue. Can you bear the weight of words falling to be spoken? Sing on, sing on, sing on, oh, sing on. La la dee da, la da dee da, la da dee da, la
years ago, the Toba volcano erupted in Indonesia.
This is the biggest volcano eruption in human history. The mountain rumbled for decades beforehand and then exploded and kept exploding for 2 weeks straight. Something of that scale is beyond comparison. 3,000 cubic kilometers of rock blown into the sky, 10 million tons per second, a wave of lava and poisonous gas covering 30,000 square kilometers. Most of India and Pakistan covered in ash 3 meters thick, the largest tsunami humanity has ever seen.
And the mushroom cloud darkened the sky over the whole earth, until the middle of the day was as dark as night under the full moon, for 2 years.
And that 2 years of darkness, that 2 years without sun, was the start of 2,000 years of relentless freezing winter and drought, the coldest period of the Ice Age. The seas, sometimes scientists, the seas drank by hundreds of years, and most of the world's fresh water froze as ice and cold and ecosystems across the planet collapsed.
Around that time, we nearly
Went extinct.
Genetic analysis says that around 70, 80,000 years ago, humans were reduced to
15,000 individuals.
maybe fewer. Some scientists believe that this eruption caused this genetic bottleneck that killed almost wiped humanity out altogether.
That tiny group of survivors was hidden in the Ethiopian highlands, and they had a very tough time with it.
My great-grandparents were there. Yours too. Everyone in the whole world traces their family tree back to this one community of a few thousand struggling humans. All humanity in one small town's worth of people, maybe 10 high schools.
How did we survive? We don't know. Maybe your great-grandparents helped my great-grandparents. Maybe the other way around. But we got through it.
Their numbers slowly grew, and the weather warmed. And generation by generation, century by century, we spread out from there. Walking along mountain ridges through valleys, down to the water's edge. We lit fires on the beach and watched the surf. We crept across the face of the planet. We forgot. As much as an animal forgets.
But remember this.
When we were down to the last survivors,
When the sky was black,
And the ground was frozen.
And we were sick with hunger and thirst.
there were people who gave up. There were people who lied and stole and took more than their share. There were people who said the future was not worth fighting for.
and there were people who kept pushing. And there were people who laughed and told funny stories to help keep spirits up. And there were people who gave what they had.
And there were people who helped.
Even in that moment.
There were people who were selfish,
and there were people who were kind.
We've all been here before, and we'll be here again. And all of this is your heritage, and my heritage too.
And the waves still crash on the sand, leaving bubbles of foam as the waters draw back.
And that concludes the plays and music portion of our program. And now I'm going to introduce the Executive Director of Dance Chicago, Jonathan Pereira.
I can't remember the last time they gathered in a room and listened to people replacing it. Thank you. Thank you to Sarah, Tom, and all the actors. And I don't know the last time they heard beautiful art playing. So thank you for that. That was amazing. Just applause.
Yes.
I'm Jonathan Pereira, the Executive Director of Finite Chicago. This is also probably my first time addressing, like, closing out like a theater performance. My nonprofit. I'm curious, how many of you have either heard of Planet Chicago or a phrase called circular economy? Okay. Oh, I should have asked this as two separate questions. How many of you have heard of Planet Chicago? So it's circular economy as well. Okay, cool. All right. Yeah, awesome. So Planet Chicago's mission is to cultivate local circular economies. We envision a paradigm shift in production, consumption, waste happening at the local level, generating equity and economic opportunity for all residents. So I can go back to that phrase, circular economy. I want to keep this kind of loose too, so I think if at any point too you just have a question or like just want to stop me for a second, please do. Circular economy at a very basic level, we live in a world of finite resources, but we're operating as if there are finite resources to consume. So if you even remove climate change out of it, there's this issue, right? We're just constantly relying, like assuming like there's infinite fossil fuels to take out of the earth. There's like assume there's infinite helium. Like we don't make helium, only stars make helium, right? Like that's where the helium is in the universe is like not on Earth. It's in our sun. Phosphate rock for agriculture, right? Most of the food that we eat is coming from synthetic fertilizers, and most of the phosphorus comes from a rock in the ground. Also, thank you to the geology methods of geology. I did a degree in geology, so I really appreciate that. Degree in geology, right? So that's when you think about combining circular economy is a very useful phrase for talking to people that maybe don't really care necessarily about the environment, or don't necessarily have altruism at the front of their brain. So you start getting to be able to talk to people. How do we keep our economy strong while at the same time making sure that our environment, that we can survive, and not just survive, but live in a better world? Yeah, so we are at a point now where we're all like, are we going to survive? Right? So that's if we get beyond that, like, can we survive and still live a happy life? And so you might have a question like, well, what does that look like? First of all, I'd say like getting rid of this idea of single use, right? Our ancestors knew this, that really the only things that you eat once are the things it's like a pie, right? Or like something that you put in your mouth. But even then, what comes out, right, it's not done after it enters your body. We're all producing nutrients that come out the other end, and those get reused in natural ecosystems. I want to stop there for a second. And I'm curious, I'm just going to open it up to all of you. Where do you see hope, like right now, in terms of like, where do you see hope in terms of climate and maybe our environment or economy, or some combination of that? You don't have to have an answer now, but I'm going to put it out there. Does anyone have something at the ready? Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I'm a fifth grade teacher.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
There's
So
hope
I'm a
there,
fifth
for
grade
sure.
teacher, and I will say, like, my students impress me constantly. I teach in a very diverse school in terms of socioeconomic and cultural backgrounds, and they really care. Like, they do not think climate change is fake. Like, there is none of that. They have such a strong moral compass. And it's just really interesting because I'm like, please don't go to middle school and become jerks. Like, you know, stay little and keep this just sensitivity to the world around you. But that, it's like, seriously, talk to each other. If you are feeling discouraged, it's pretty cool.
Awesome. I totally agree with that. Talking to children often is, it's good to combat cynicism, for sure. Yeah.
I could back that up. I have the same topic. I recruit like college age students who are like software engineers, and I've gone to different campuses and seeing what they do at hackathons and whatever, like ends up being a lot of like social climate change oriented. So like I went to Stanford one day, I saw that they're making like tools to help, calculate what your carbon emissions might be like when you purchase something on Amazon, and then help you direct to something that would be like less, more carbon neutral, like automatically. Again, really easy for them to do that. So thinking about that, like the college age level, like what their technical skills can do, it's really exciting to see. Yeah.
Nice. You want more? Nice.
Yeah, I was actually an economics major in college.
Fantastic.
So the whole the guy who came up with scarcity was like the Malthusian. He was like the guy who said there was infinite amount of wants and limited resources. But so then everybody thought, oh, well, we're fucked. But they didn't take technology into account. So I kind of rely on like my daily to like a Deo ex machina where something's gonna fix this, and then that compounded with the fact that people in power eventually will die. I'm not gonna lie to you, that's really all that keeps me going.
Optimism.
After the people not in power.
No, I'm saying that, honestly, I gotta come at you from like I don't really I don't know. I'm sure this is a room full of people that are hopeful, and I'm generally hopeful because I believe in the human spirit and the abstract and all that. But I certainly hope it works out. But the Mitch McConnells of the world just keep on chugging. So
I feel you. In the last 2 years, definitely we're watching screens of things that you just feel like you're screaming at the one screen, the big TV screen, or your phone.
I have a question to follow up with that.
Yeah. Okay.
So how do you make it scalable?
Okay, so that's an economist question. So here's the thing. So I think when people are saying, "Oh, how do you scale that?" Like, I've got a business. How do you scale it? I generally react. I don't like that phrase for one reason, because when we focus on local, we're talking about lots of little small businesses and lots of local operations. So you can go back to the phrase, think globally, act locally, or not everybody needs to have a technology or like a business that is going to scale to take over the world and change everything. It's really always only going to happen. If you're talking about circular economy in general, we have to actually just eliminate the concept of a landfill. So a landfill, we're not just sending things to a landfill. You can start with things like food waste. So food waste in general, we have to actually ban it across the country, just like not allow food and organic material to go to a landfill. That's one start. There are already companies that are pushing for this as well. What you got though, you think about how many large multinational companies were being blamed for destroying the earth. A lot of those too are embracing things like using recycled content. Now they're still pushing this other end of like consuming as much as possible, right? So like consuming as much as possible, but the tides are shifting in terms of perception, right? Consumers want things that are recycled content. We need to go further than that. Like we can't just be single using our way recycling. We're not going to recycle our way out of this. I haven't fully answered your question. As you can tell by the look in your eyes.
I just wanted to respond to that. You asked like what gives people,
Yeah.
and like something like I think that early 2019 I like really recommitted to like what my lifestyle. I really want my lifestyle to match my values, so I like making a ton of changes. And like even in the time since I started doing that, like the public awareness of like sustainable choices and like shopping, like how people are spending their money, I do think there are shifts happening. There's greenwashing in there too, but like it is. I think to me it's hopeful to see that it is entering more of public awareness, and that these conversations are happening in our news more than they were before, and like all those things.
Yeah, I agree. I think in the last 2 years, there's felt as if there was a sort of general recognition, like, yeah, maybe we don't have an equitable society. Right? Also, plastic doesn't actually get recycled. Like that was the lower thing. People were on the streets like, ban single-use plastic. But like that really is. I mean, that's the truth. We've been just living a lie. Fossil fuel companies and environmentalists backed it up with this idea that we can recycle our way out of just be like live this life of overconsumptive life and wasteful life and still be okay. We can't. So, I mean, little things, the reusable bottle, ancient technology, glass, right? Like, fork that like you reuse over and over again. These little things, we have the technology. We don't need to create like the new fork. Like, hey, you can reuse it thousands of times. So, it's your hand, like you eat a burrito with your hand. That's it. We have all that here. But going back to food waste, I mean, just think in Chicago, over 20% of the landfill is filled with organic material. That's a huge. I mean, that's a huge.
20%.
Over 20%.
Landfills are filled with organic material.
Yeah, right. And they're like that is something that can be reapplied to the land as well. And I would note on that too. We also now we think like, oh well, we'll just the single-use plastic will replace it out with like compostable material. The compostable material isn't. Most of it isn't like going to like regenerate the soil or necessarily get composted as well. So in Chicago, everybody's looking around to like compostable straws right here. It's great. It's a great effort, but like in Chicago right now, we don't have the infrastructure in place yet to like deal with those. So chances are they're just ending up in the landfill too, right? So until there is like both ends of the spectrum are coming together, we definitely have much more awareness now, but we can't it's like this constant badgering. Like I guarantee, I'm willing to bet like this building too is like we want to be committed to sustainability, but then it's going to also be people like saying, okay, like I don't actually need a straw, or most of us don't, some of us do, and that's understandable. But we can, there's money savings there for the businesses too if you're not giving away free stuff.
I have a silly question.
Yeah.
Is there, I don't know if this is real, but is there a ratio of compostable materials in a landfill where it starts helping or not? Or is that not a thing that's ever
So no, but I I don't know. Like, if, like you're saying like compostable materials, like helping a landfill.
Food, yeah.
So yeah, so what you can do, and there's again technology so landfills take, essentially like an old school landfill, you throw things in a pit, right, and then cover it up. And what happens there is that one set of bacteria, the oxygen-loving bacteria, they start decomposing things, and then they use up all the oxygen. So then other bacteria moves in that loves to live in anaerobic conditions, and they start their end at the end of their process, they create lots of methane. So methane is a greenhouse gas that is, well, I mean it's useful if you tap into it. So that's exactly right. So if you have landfills that can tap into methane and not just as an energy source, there's benefit in that. And if you can, figure out how your waste management system is only putting organic material like a mixture of food waste into a digester system, then you can tap that in and create power out of it. And there's hundreds of them all over the U.S. already. They're mostly connected to dairy farms. Were you giving me a?
Oh no, I just have a question.
You got a question? I thought it was
When you
3 minutes.
Yeah, 3. You're out. No, you're still good.
So anaerobic digesters are mostly in your dairy farms, or like dealing with cow poop, pig poop, some horse poop. They already have the bacteria in their guts that is beneficial and creates methane. And you can tap into the cows as well if you want to get some methane as well. But yeah, there is opportunity there. But compostable, the packaging itself is not high in energy. It's usually very fibrous, and it's not something that does well in those types of systems. And there is a lot. There's still a lot because it's relatively new, this market for, the explosion of it. There's a lot more demand for them. That the industry standards are still. There's lots of different certification standards. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors too in terms of what you're getting. Some of these compostable materials are sprayed with PFAS, which is a forever chemical. So you're like, all you're doing then instead of going to a landfill, it goes to compost. You're putting forever chemicals in your soil, right? So I think it's better to figure out how you just don't use single use at all. Like in your life, can you figure out how to just keep reusing items? Right? If you use it a second time, you double, or you've had the environmental impact. Yeah. Yes.
In relation to like a circular economy, I guess some of us aren't quite as familiar with Plant Chicago. What has Plant Chicago essentially been doing in relation to circular economies?
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
We for years helped incubate a project in the southwest side called the Plant, which was a collaborative community of food businesses. We moved out just before the pandemic and into a former firehouse, just a few blocks away, to repurpose that into a center for circular economy programming to really engage the public in opportunities, not just businesses, but also residents of Chicago and creating economic opportunity out of waste. So in the firehouse itself, there's an infrastructure which we're working to decarbonize in terms of sourcing renewable energy, but also making things accessible. So we have the first public electric vehicle charging station on the southwest side. We are collecting food scraps for free because the city of Chicago has no organics collection system at all. Not yet. They know that the budget next year calls for something, but none of our neighbors can afford to pick up those. Most of them can't afford to pay for a pickup service, so we just offer that service. They can drop it off. We do sliding scale local food boxes as well, so we sell boxes of local produce and locally produced food, bread, eggs coming from a little bit further away, not in Chicago, and we link match. So if anybody has a link card, they can actually afford to buy the produce. We want to make sure that local growers too can actually still, they're not donating, they're not expected to donate the food, that they can still make money. So supporting both ends of this, residents and small businesses as well. We do have a Circular Economy Leaders Network as well, which isn't housed as of our facility, but we work with businesses all over the city. Econ Flamingo was actually a member this year. I just visited another one, Homegrown Rapids, which is not far from here. There's lots of creative reuse things there too. I have a few awesome Christmas cards that I have here. And that really is working with small businesses and entrepreneurs to figure out how they can meet the revenue goals while at the same time delivering materials from a landfill. Yeah.
I kind of have a question slash, and this is the thing that makes me not feel comfortable. Is that like, a lot of the talk about eliminating single use leaves out the people that single use is made for, and leaves out the fact that single use things are often more helpful to disabled communities and drug addiction folks and like poor folks.
Yes.
And, you know, maybe one of those, like I'm neurodivergent, but I know like functionality often depends on single use foods sometimes.
Right. Yes.
So
that's
how
why.
do you incorporate that into the conversation?
Well, because you don't do a straw ban, right?
Yeah.
You make it like basically flipping like make it optional, like have someone request it, have it available, whatever. Like don't just assume that everybody's going to need a straw or want a straw. So there are times exactly right. So like if you're going to roll out a food waste ban, right? That would the complaint there is in like small businesses and other people would have a really hard time enacting that without support. So you do start with larger. You start with that's like the plastic bags, right? So you see like Target and Home Depot and all these bigger places they're the ones that almost become more responsible for it. I'd also say this isn't quite. I didn't get to this, but it's related to it. Making businesses responsible for the material they produce, so extended producer responsibility. So actually, if a business is going to put a material or product out there, they need to be responsible for how that doesn't go into the landfill. Too often, a business will be like, "Well, it can be recycled. See you later." Right? Yeah, it can be. I mean, anything can be recycled, but most of it is not a case for it. But getting back to that, you can't just walk into this saying there's a one size fits all. There are going to be people that are impacted by it for sure, and the straw is a perfect paradigm of that. Everybody's focused on the straw, the turtle, and the straw in its nose. The Q-tip, or I forget what it was. But and then you're like, well, the straws are like such a small percentage, and then we get focused on this little tiny thing, and you're like, it's this whole system. We're just belching out plastic, and not you're just expecting because it can be recycled, it's okay. It's like I don't know a good analogy for a social situation. But so back to your question too, we do a ton of education programs. We have what I think is the first year use indoor farm. So we have indoor plots for residents it's often expensive to buy lights, grow lights. There's all sorts of turnkey systems that you can buy for a lot of money. And if you buy it, decide you don't like to do it, it sits in your garage. If you have a garage, you don't know what to do with it. So we're basically offering a lower space for people to learn how to grow food indoors year round. It's our indoor victory garden. We do have a small retail shop on site. We do a farmer's market weekly, every Saturday throughout the summer. We have actually a market coming up. It's a holiday market, not a farmer's market. It's our only market where we won't have farmers. I just want to qualify it next Saturday, December 18th. It's a holiday market. There'll be artisans. It's actually a vaccine event as well. So we're encouraging people, especially our neighbors, to get vaccinated or boosted if you're at that point yet. Thank you all for believing in science and following requests to stay safe. That I think that hopefully covers a lot of our program areas. We have focused in more on working with small businesses and residents, especially in the southeastern side of Chicago.
You ever thought, how do you guys, you said something about link cards and fresh produce. Has there ever been an attempt to talk to digital POS services like Square to see if they would accept food, like link cards at like farmers markets or anything like that?
Okay, so that's a whole separate thing because SNAP benefits are coming from the federal government. We have to have a separate reader for that. And you're about to like trigger me with the process. we have one, so we can do it for our farmers market, but we have to now apply for a second one for retail, and that process has just been driving me nuts. So
That's
we have to do
exciting.
it. So you cannot run through Square, and Square is not allowed. You have to have a separate reader that is approved by the federal government as a vendor for the federal government.
Gotta get that
Link,
in
for those of you who don't know, Link is SNAP benefits in the state of Illinois. That's all, yeah, so, sorry about that, I just
Get it out. You're on a state.
6 months of waiting, and I just took one response, sorry, you didn't fill that thing. I was like, you could've just called me, I could've sent you the checkbox, you know?
I feel like that's exciting. That's like that like kind of nails it on both sides.
Yes, yeah. So, and the thing, we realized, and the irony is when we moved, we actually thought we were gonna move away from working with food as well, but there was just so many people, especially in our neighborhood, that still were in need of help that didn't have a link card. And we were matching link purchases, but there were so many people that either were above the income threshold or they couldn't get a link card because of their status, or they were afraid or too proud to go to a government office, or also it was a pandemic and people don't want to go anywhere. So we just started doing a sliding scale, and selling these boxes. Some people paid a little bit more, and a lot of people pay less. Less, but there are some people that will put down more money every once in a while to help support it. And, that's a big thing too. So if any of you are supporting that, it's I don't know how you're doing it as well, but if you were to go to our website, you can kind of select like what you're most interested in supporting. We do school programs as well, and those are just starting to pick up again. We'll see what happens in January. But we do a lot of things with aquaponic systems in schools so students can learn about the nitrogen cycle hands-on, and we do design challenges with them.
And I used to teach in Gage Park. I just looked up where you're located.
Okay, yeah,
Park,
we're
right?
really close.
So yeah, so I'm actually out in Des Plaines.
Oh,
But I used to teach, I taught Gage Park for a long time. So
Did you teach at Gage Park?
no, I started to Mayo, which is it's a charter school. It is like the most magical little charter school. Like I don't know what it is. Like the whole system is kind of terrible, but like that school is just kind of a magical.
Yep.
And yeah, so they're different people.
Thank you for working with children.
They're really cool.
I have a 5th grader, and they're cool. Not all the time.
No, I taught 5th and 6th grade. I really like that.
Yeah. Yes.
You mentioned that there's a website.
Yeah.
What is the address of this website?
Plantchicago.org.
It's also linked in the program.
Thank you. Yeah, and if you can come down and visit, it's great. Saturdays, we're open every Saturday. December's tricky because Christmas and New Year's are on Saturday, so we will not be open those 2 days. But generally throughout the rest of the year, every Saturday, our winter markets will be great. We have lots of workshops. Oscar Navarez, who is the owner of the Chunky Stone, small business that we work with, he does all vegan products, and we're putting a bunch of his workshops in the calendar for next year. Vegan pizza, conchas, churros. So if there's any vegans here who want to learn how to we're not vegan. Alternative protein.
Where's it located?
What?
Where?
45th and Marshfield. It's actually straight. We're not in Corson, we're in Clark. So Ashland's right there. Straight south on Ashland and to 45th. Take a right, and you'll see the old firehouse there. Okay. Yeah. You can take the Ashland bus.
Okay.
We just got a bunch of bike racks outside too. So,
Right.
they put a lot in front of our place. They just nuts.
They knew.
I guess for 2.
They knew.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. It's gonna block me. Yeah.
What makes you hopeful?
Small businesses actually. Yeah, I just love I love like meeting and talking to small business owners that are like just keep going at the grind. and doing it and seeing creative things and collaborations between them. I definitely just and like also many small businesses when you can walk into and meet like the people doing it. That's what's great about farmers markets. Like you meet the people, like you know, like right away, like I like you, I like this, I trust you. Every once in a while you're like, I don't know, but generally, you know, small businesses give me a lot of hope. Also, I think the hope I get out of this too is just like I feel like there's been a big mental shift in terms of just you know people like generally acknowledging that climate change is real. Like I think we're at a point now where like I know there's still like the weirdo politicians that like they can't say it out loud. You know, like the same thing with you know, there's a lot of things they can't say out loud, but like they're thinking like certain person's an idiot, right? Whatever. Like I can't say anything about the attempted attack of the Capitol, but they're thinking it, like they know it in their bones. Yeah, I think there is hope around the what we have seen in the last 2 years and we made aware of, or the things you were aware of already, but also were forced to confronted in a very visceral way. You know, from George Floyd and on, right? So I do think that's where I see hope. I feel like attitudes will shift. My fear, right, is we go right back to just like, hey, we're normal again. Like the last thing we want is to like go back to normal. We want to like go back to better.
You checked the box and we're aware.
Yeah, like I think like we don't like I don't want this phrase like the phrase of like oh I can't wait till it gets back to normal again. It's like I can't wait till it gets better is what we should be saying. Right? I can't wait till we just to take our masks off and also be in a room with people that are very different from us and like have a good time and not be talking about like how there's like injustice and like plastic islands. So yeah, I hope you all can visit sometime and they sign up for a newsletter if you want as well. We do a monthly newsletter. We'll have a ton of events and things coming up. So thank you.
Concludes our programming for the day. Please hang out, get food and beverages if you would like. Also, if you didn't make a donation to the plant whenever you got your ticket, you can link, that's linked on our program and also on the Eventbrite. And also, if you would, there's the bucket up here. And also, if you want to scan a Venmo where you're going to disperse that to the performers as well, if you would like to tip us that way. If you don't have cash with you, that's totally fine. Yeah, thank you all so much for coming. I hope it was educational, fun, and manageable for you all. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, that's how it works, right?
That's how it's done. Red line VR, 7 p.m.
That was